Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us on this special workshop that we have today. And we're very excited to have Tania Moloney, who is the founder of Nature-preneur Australia. She's coming to us from all the way from Australia. Since 2012, she has been helping educators, parents, and others who care deeply for connecting kids and nature to grow their knowledge and skills so they feel confident and supported in their nature-inspired teaching and learning practices. She leads engaging professional development programs for educators, runs innovative nature play and outdoor learning programs from her mobile classroom, which I'm very excited about, the Nature Bus, and soon to be published children's book author with her new book, Nature Ninja Saves the World, Saves the Natural World, I should say. And here she is, Tania Moloney. Thank you so much for joining us, and take it away.
Thank you so much, Kiyoko, and thank you all. I'm so very excited to be joining you across the oceans. I imagine most of you are in the US, although I did invite lots of my Australian and UK friends and people all over the world, so hopefully they can join us as well. I've got a presentation which is mostly pictures, so I'm not going to PowerPoint you to death. I will start sharing that in a moment, but before we begin, I would like to acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land on which I'm joining you from today, the Kira-Warong people, and I pay my respects to their elders past, present and emerging, and really thank them for the care and custodianship of land so that I can enjoy this beautiful nature that I'm surrounded by. And if you do know the traditional owners of the land on which you are joining us from, please feel free to acknowledge that in the chat. It's just something that that I'm really passionate about doing, and it's something that an acknowledgement of country is something that's really part of the education system, particularly, and part of life here in Australia as well. So I know it's becoming more and more common where you are as well. So that's wonderful to see. I'll just share my screen, Kiyoko, if we're ready for that. Okay, let's go. I think you can see that. I'll pop it on. All good. All right, hang on. Okay, all right, so let me just put this over here. I'd love you along the way, if you have questions, please pop them in the chat. We might leave answering those questions till the end. If that's okay. If there's anything burning that's really, that really needs to be answered straight away, I'm sure Kiyoko or Angela will pick that up and let me know. And I really encourage questions at the end. So I'm going to start off by my presentation that you all know is Growing Nature Connected Kids and Your Nature-preneur Business. And again, I'm Tania Moloney, founder of Nature-preneur Australia. And now soon to be, as of probably next week, a published author. So I'll tell you a little bit about that and how that's really a natural, been a natural extension of the work that I do. So I just want to say too that watching those videos at the start was so inspiring. Like, I love the passion is at the heart of obviously every one of those businesses, and I imagine that that's a really big part of what you teach there at the Rec Innovation Lab and SD Miramar, and I really I'm really heartened to see that, and because ultimately kids and parents and entrepreneurship are at the heart of that, and it's really heartening to see. So I'll just I grew up on a dairy farm in southwest Victoria, just a couple of hours out of Melbourne, as I said, on a dairy farm with my two brothers and my mum and dad, and I grew up playing with sticks. And now as an adult, you can still see I'm still playing with sticks. And loving it, and even one of the characters in my book is named Stick, who you'll meet a bit later, in honor of the joy that sticks can provide for children, and just that open-ended play. In the picture on the right, you can see I'm holding a funny-looking stick, and I'm actually playing not a stick. So if anyone can guess what game I'm, or what I'm pretending to be with my not a stick if you want to pop it in the chat and see if you can guess. All right, and then I'm sure that Yoko will be able to probably just get this. I can't see the chat, I don't think. Yes, I can, if anyone's. All right, got the chat. Okay, so let's have a look. So this is where I live. I live beside a dormant volcano on the 3rd largest volcanic plain in the world. I'm very, it is a dormant volcano. It hasn't got up for about 10,000 years, so I think we're pretty safe. But as you can see, that's where I live. It's a beautiful area. I'm surrounded by nature, and I'm very lucky to be so. As an entrepreneur with my business hat on, it's quite isolated. So a lot of the stuff that I do now, whilst some of that is face-to-face, some of that has moved online because of the region that I live in. But I do like getting out and going to the city and then coming home to the quiet. So my partner Michael is a school principal, and he's a bit of a rogue school principal. So he's in mainstream, but he does things often very unmainstream. And we're a blended family. So these are our 5 kids. Now this is quite an old photo. The eldest one, the tallest one there is now 18, and the shortest one there is now 12. But it is a perfect representation, I think, of what I want kids to be, or who I want kids to be when they're out in nature. Like, they're at the top of our driveway selling eggs and Kool-Aid. We'd call it cordial, but Kool-Aid, at the top of the driveway for like 50 cents. And they just were living their best life. Like there was freedom. They were being little entrepreneurs. They had lots of sugar in their system, so it was a really fun moment. But I do love that. I do love that sort of those little entrepreneurs within them, and those little nature-loving kids. And now they do spend far too much time on technology. That I guess is a challenge for lots of parents. But hopefully we try and strike a balance sometimes, the best we can. So the work that I do, I started this work in 2012, as Kyoka said, and I was working at I had run my own business since I was 20, and I think I'm unemployable now from anyone else because I like to do my own thing. I like to make my own direction, which is what a wonderful part of being an entrepreneur, and obviously working with clients and things like that as well. But I was running a corporate wellness company, and I just didn't love it anymore. And I moved back to a rural area, so most of my clients were in the city, and I just felt like something was missing. I didn't love what I was doing. And it was frustrating me. And I was sort of looking for something else. And I think I remember walking through a bookshop and seeing this book called The Passion Test. And like, I looked at the book by Janet and Chris Atwood, and I read the back of the book, and essentially it gave me permission on the back of this book to live in favour of the things that I was most passionate about, and follow those passions and get really clear on what they were. And so I started sort of on this kind of journey of rediscovery of what I was passionate about. And I actually did the Passion Test training and the Passion Test for kids and teens training because I knew how powerful it was for me. And ultimately, one of my passions was helping my children grow and thrive in the world. And the best way that I could find to do that, and so naturally, was being outdoors in nature. And so you can see some of these pictures on the left, me down at our dam, like catching yabbies, and my daughter and her cousin, doing the same thing. We played with bunnies, that we call, they were wild bunnies, and we sort of gradually moved with our kids to more tame bunnies, pet bunnies. But bunnies teach you so much in an early childhood, child development way. Like, bunnies and guinea pigs are great pets because unfortunately they don't tend to live long. And there's a whole lot of learning in that cycle as well. So there's care and care of those animals, but then there's a whole world opens up through their sort of life cycle and passing as well. And certainly my daughter Taylor on the left there with a very relaxed rabbit, not a dead one. Snowball is he's living his best life there. We certainly had that wonderful discussions with our kids when we realised that we have Snowball and Bubbles. We thought they were two girls, and it was very obvious at one stage that Snowball was not. So that whole learning experience just immersed in that simple natural experience as well. So but yeah, he's a very relaxed rabbit. So and my work really is all about, like, at the heart of it, it's about helping kids fall in love with nature so that they can grow and thrive, and so that actually we nurture our future environmental stewards as well, because we know that children who have a deep connection with nature in the younger years are more likely to participate in environmental stewardship actions as they grow, and there's a lot of research around that, and I can certainly provide you with some links to that if anyone's interested too. So I want all the kids that that I work with, and all the parents that I work with, and all the teachers that I work with, to feel like my little mate Eason here on the right, because he was just immersed in this beautiful mud day that we were having and having a great time. I think it says it all over his face there. So that's what I want them to to feel like at the end of the day. Now nature doesn't always go as planned, and sometimes there are tears and bumps and bruises and whatever, but that's part of helping kids be resilient, become resilient, and learn in the world. So just really quickly, and there's so much research and good old-fashioned common sense really about the benefits of nature for kids, and this is what we're trying to work with when we work with outdoor education and nature-inspired learning. It enhances their mental health. There's lots of teamwork and communication. Physically, they're active. Like when you're outside, nature invites you to move. Sometimes we have a sit spot and we're relaxed. But nature invites you to move and run and jump and play and roll and all these wonderful things. Social and emotional learning, it's really rich in academic, across literacy, numeracy, language, social, there's such broad impacts. Focus and attention improve. It's great for curiosity, imagination. Like these boys were yelling "ship ahoy!" They were on land and they were in this old boat and they were outside immersed in nature. And of course, as I said before, we're helping nurture our future environmental stewards. And nature also is good for us as adults, particularly when you're a busy student, a busy entrepreneur. Sometimes we kind of get stuck inside and focused on our passions and really being busy, stuck in the busyness of that. But I know that when I step outside and make nature time for myself, it nurtures me as a human being. It nurtures me, clears my head as an entrepreneur, as a parent. And when you get kids out there's no walls to climb. So and when I don't, I feel a bit like this generally. So that reminds me when I kind of feel a bit frazzled and like this little apple head here, I try and step outside again and just have that lovely kind of chill out time as well. And sometimes it only really has to be 5 minutes. Like I could go and sit in my yard or on my balcony or wherever you are, even if you're surrounded by nature in the city. Like sitting outdoors just for 5 minutes can really clear your mind and make you, help you be more efficient, more creative, and get some clarity around the things that are tossing and turning around your head. So, as well. So as I said, I started working with families. And I loved working with families. I loved running family nature retreats and family programming. And I still do that. I still work with local so that you would call them counties over there, like the councils, like local government departments, and running nature programs for them, and going to schools and kindergartens and all sorts of places. But I found that working with children in that way, or working in that way, wasn't really supporting me as an entrepreneur to actually have a sustainable practice. And I started this like 12 years ago when no one wanted to pay you to take their kids outdoors. So, you know, now it's changed a little bit. Like you know, these programs are kind of really, you know, people are seeing the value in these outdoor learning programs and outdoor play programs, and more likely to, you know, support their children in that. But I knew right from the start that, you know, as soon as I finished university, I went over and I worked at a summer camp in Michigan as a waterfront director, and I saw the lights in these kids' eyes light up. They were, it was, I can't even imagine, I can't even explain to you the impact that had, and that really sparked my passion for this work, and my want to help more adults, particularly, open the door more often for their children to really experience this as well. So I still work with families, as I said, but a lot of my work now is working with educators, so early years educators, elementary school, primary school educators. Sometimes I do a little bit of work with teens, and that's really always really interesting, and doing more and more of that. But I'm not, like, I've done lots of nature pedagogy training, and I've worked with kids outdoors forever and ever. But I'm not teacher trained, and which I think sometimes is, you know, it gets in my head that I'm not teacher trained, but I think sometimes it's an advantage because I can see beyond the curriculum boxes sometimes. And you know, I've built a community, which I'll talk about in a moment, where if I have a question about curriculum, and I know it pretty well, but if I have a question, I can go to my community and ask them, and they will help me through that. And I remember chatting to a teacher one day, and I was saying to her, Kathy, I don't know how I can be qualified to teach teachers to teach nature and to take their kids outdoors. And she looked at me and she said, that's not your job. She said, your job is to help us, you know, get really excited, to help us feel supported and inspired and empowered and confident to take our kids outdoors more often. She said, we know curriculum. We should know it anyway if we're teachers. You know, that's what our job is. But if we, you know, your job is to help us get excited about opening the door. And so, you know, from then on, I really thought that's how I'm going to make my ripples. You know, those little pebbles that I throw out that, you know, that land beside a teacher or a parent or an adult or a nature connection advocate, those ripples, I don't know where they're going to go. And so if my passion comes across, I think you can probably guess I'm pretty passionate about this. If my passion can inspire, empower, support, and get people really excited, then my work is, you know, is just that's my mission from that. So we're going okay, Kyoka? Time? Good. Excellent. And so sometimes, you know, if you see on this, if this slide, you know, this kid's sort of sitting on a bench and looking out into the wild nature, and maybe they don't really know if it might be one of the adults or might be one of you. You just kind of don't know what the next step is. And I find, you know, particularly in the work that I do, is stepping outside, like opening the door. You can, it's just a whole lot of freedom to create and explore, both in the natural world and in business as well. So this was from my very first family nature retreat that I ran. And this was about, we'd sort of had a bit of a safety briefing, which is pretty basic, you know, be kind to nature, be kind to each other, and, you know, be kind to yourself, look after yourself. And then we said go, and the kids just ran down the hill and took off into the wild space. Like this whole, the forest behind there, they took off into the wild space. And the second boy there, with the stick there, he had said to me probably half an hour before that, he said, I love Minecraft and I don't think I'm going to really enjoy this weekend. And I said to him, well, the technology doesn't work here in the Valley very well, so you're going to have to find something to do, and hopefully we can, you can have a good time. And at the end, just sort of not challenging him, not making him wrong, just saying, well, let's see what happens. And at the end of the weekend, he came up to me and he said, this is the best weekend I've had in a long time. I still get a bit teary and goosebumps. He said, this feels right. I didn't think I was going to enjoy this, and he was helping the younger ones, and he was like out doing things outdoors, and it was just so beautiful, to see. He was 12 at the time, 12 going on 13 at the time, so to see that teenage kind of, in this case, a boy, really feeling the power of the natural world for him. So again, you just never know where those ripples are going to land. So I'll just give you a bit of, I guess, an idea of all the different wonderful things that I get to do. As I said before, being an entrepreneur and kind of running my own organization, I get to choose the wonderful, lots of wonderful directions to go. And so you can see, like, I do walking, like story walks, where I put books on panels and we go for a walk outdoors and read. Like, I'm very passionate about reading and children's books, as you will hear in a moment. I have a mobile classroom called the Nature Bus, which I was very fortunate enough to get a government grant for, which never happens as a business owner. So I was really fortunate, it was the right program. So I travel around in my Nature Bus. It's set up as a mobile classroom, so it's not a passenger bus. And I just have the best time, and I look so much cooler in this vehicle than I do in my old minivan. So and it's just like you just pull up and the kids just eyes light up and they're like, the Nature Bus. And every time I go back to a new place, the children will say, Tanya's coming, the Nature Bus, and the kids who have been with me before will almost clear a path and like help me set up and tell the others what it's going to be all about. It's just really heartening to see those children taking that lead and really leading. If you're leading by example and they want to they want to do that too, which is just so wonderful. So so I do some online conferences. I have one called Campference, which is awesome. So I have an online and an offline program called Campference, a bit like a camp conference. So the online version I did in 2021, and I can give you a link to it as well. And it was normally I run face-to-face conferences, and they're very special teacher camps. They're really special and very connecting. And I wanted to see if I could replicate that feeling in an online setting, which was going to be really, a real challenge. So we had some live things and some, live Zooms and lots of pre-recorded content and things like that. And I was traveling last week for a conference to speak at a conference across the other side of the country. And one of the ladies came up to me and she said, I felt like I was around the campfire with you, like in an online Zoom room. And that was my whole hope, was that people felt like that. So it was really special. The face-to-face conferences are awesome as well, and I create lots of different resources too, as you can see there. One of the things that I have learned, or that I have, I guess, that's been further embedded into my the way that I work and my belief, is about nurturing relationships in business. Like, relationships and nurturing authentic ones are so very important, and that should it's my belief that that's the cornerstone of a great business and a great organization that serves you, but also serves the people that in your community. And so I started way back in 2012, my mentor at the time had said to me, just go and talk to 5 people. Go and interview 5 people in the set, you know, in the space you want to play in, and talk to them about, you know, what you want to do, and ask them their advice and learn from them. And so that was 5. He set me a task of 5 and I did 50. So I was a bit overachiever. And then eventually no one really wanted to buy it as a package, so I put it as free podcast. So if you do go to the web link there, it says a free podcast. And the interesting thing about that is those relationships. So this lady here, Jill McAuliffe, Maggie Dent, Richard Louvre, Tim, Diana, and Maya, who I love bringing the child's voice into these programs. These are all people I'm still connected with. You know, Richard Louvre is one of the founders of the Children in Nature Network. He reviewed my book. He was in my conference over here, you know, the online conference, and having those relationships are just so special. Jill McAuliffe and Maggie Dent, I spent last week at a conference with them, and that was, we met 12 years ago. And we'd actually never met face to face until last week. So those authentic relationships and really sharing, you know, sharing your heart, your experience, and just that sort of giving of yourself, I think, is really important. So those relationships, you know, as I said, are really sort of a cornerstone of the work that I do. As I said, in 2021, I ran an online conference, and I had all these incredible people join me for these conversations, which were just amazing. So part 2 is coming in November this year, which I'm really excited about. It was supposed to be about 1.5 years ago, but in business, as you know, some things get a little distracted and take a little bit longer than you want them to. But those relationships continue, you know, and again, that undercurrent of nurturing healthy relationships is really important. That, you know, that I have all these people that I can sort of reach out to and learn from, but developing connections within your own community, I find, is really important as well. So as I said before, I run a face-to-face conference every year. It's an annual teacher nature conference and retreat. I put retreat on the end. It's a bit like a sleepover camp for teachers, and they all come and drink around the campfire and sit in their onesies, but they connect, and they connect with each other. They share ideas, and they become part of the community. And I never have to ask, every year I never have to ask for presenters. So everyone from those previous sessions, or new people who've just kind of, you know, sort of come into the space and can ask me, you know, I'd love to present, I've got this experience. And then you build this community. And every one of those people in that community, like, I can reach out to and connect to, they can reach out to and connect with me, they can give me a call, they can email me, and we will share ideas and resources where we can. It's just such a special thing. And, you know, some of them come back year after year after year, and that's the power of authentic relationships, and they tell other people. And, you know, I have this relationship with the ones that I know, and even the ones that I don't know, where I ask them all to bring their teddy bears to camp. You know, they're all adults, but they all unquestionably brought their teddy bears to camp, not knowing what we were going to do with them. And we had this little plushy picnic kind of thing, and it was just so much fun. So I'll show you a picture of some of those as well, but you can see all those grown men and women there with with their teddy bears. It's awesome. Again, coming back to community, you know, really at the heart of community is connection, collaboration, and belonging. When we grow strong communities, that strengthens the tapestry that is this, you know, child development, entrepreneurship world. And one of my favourite quotes is, nature uses the longest threads to weave her patterns, so each small piece of her fabric reveals the organisation of the entire tapestry. That's Richard Feynman. And so I started a couple of years ago making these nature quilts with my communities. and some of my clients as well, where the children or the adults go out and they create a piece of nature art, ephemeral nature art, with the things that are on country around them. And then I combine them all. And so you can see that every single one of these creations is so individual. And that person who created that brings all of their skills and knowledge and experience to that community. And then when we see it all as a whole, there's these beautiful threads that connect us all. And I think in child development and in education, there's so many different pedagogies and different methods and things like that. But I think at the heart of it, whether we're in my world, whether it's forest school or nature kinder or bush kinder or whatever kind of pedagogy you aspire to, and the best way I think is to combine lots of them, but whatever pedagogy you aspire to and you believe in, like we're all on the same bus, going in the same direction, and children are at the heart of that. And so I think the more we can collaborate and connect and really develop these strong communities, the stronger our impact, or the bigger the ripples that we can all create, going back to those ripples again. So am I going okay, Kyoko? Won't be too much longer. Awesome. One of the things that I, through the conference, which is the online conference, was where nature meets story, because I became really passionate about great books, great nature related books for children, because and I loved the care I did write it down, the character bear, the opening up and the storytelling in that. I thought that was amazing at the start in that video. I was very inspired by that. But we're wired for story as human beings, and the most magical place that I can think of to create stories is outdoors. And in conference we talked about stories all different, through drama and art and great storybooks and even vegetable gardening. We talked about creating all these stories in different ways. But I love springboarding my work off a great book. And one of the things that I was really, I became more and more passionate about, more and more aware of through this process particularly, was looking at my bookshelf and looking at the diversity on that, that was included in that, and really wanting to have a representation of gender and culture and abilities in my bookshelf. And in talking to lots of different authors and researchers and things like that, I really feel that children should be able to see themselves represented in story, whether it's a book or a storytelling or in community. When children feel that they can see themselves, there's so much magic in that. So that's sort of where my passion for story came from, besides loving stories as a kid and making up stories and writing stories and things like that, which kind of leads into my my passion for writing my own little book, which is called Nature Ninja Saves the Natural World. It's currently actually on Kickstarter. I can give you a link with that if you want to share it, or even if you want to support it. I'll share a link in a moment, but I wanted to, I guess, show you the link between the work that I do through this particular story. All right, hang on a sec. I'll just introduce you to, there's me there on the left. The characters are Nature Ninja, the little green ninja on the bottom, Kid Ninja, Stick, Boobok, and there's even a little grasshopper on every page for kids to find as well. So that's me. I'm the author. It took me probably 12 months to write the book. I started writing most of it on my morning walks, and stopping every 5 minutes to make a note on my phone. But it became it's a real challenge to fit a great story that's engaging and kids want to keep reading over and over again in 650 words. And I'm not very good at brevity, as you could probably pick up already. So, you know, fitting that into 650 words was a challenge, but I think I've nailed it. My editor said she loves it, and Richard Louv said I make Saving the Natural World fun. So also I've got some great reviews from that. And then on the right there is Elena Sardi, who is my incredible illustrator who brought my words to life. She's amazing. She's an architect. She's also an illustrator, and she's Croatian, lives in Canada, but I would swear she lives in my little Aussie backyard, because she just nailed the look of it. She's just amazing. So I could not have created this story with anyone else. So I'll just show you some of the bit of the process, I guess, because it's just a fabulous process. So we started with my words. We drafted up, or she drafted up a story board, so you can see just on little graph paper. Then it kind of translated over to a bit bigger. Then we took it digitally, and then essentially it ends up looking like this incredible image. So you can see more of those images on the Kickstarter, which I'll share with you in a moment. But it's just it was so beautiful. So I wanted to take you through a couple of the pages just to tell you a little bit about the story, and again how that fits into my my world of nature connection and outdoor play. So as I said before, when you were looking at Ethan throwing mud up in the air, my job is to inspire the adults, but help kids fall in love with nature. And so I want them to be worm-loving, tree-hugging, puddle-jumping kid ninjas. You know, I want them to be out in their backyard looking for grasshoppers, or whatever is in, you know, whatever nature is in your backyard or balcony or wherever you live, classroom, wherever you are. And so I really wanted kids to identify with this. So hopefully they do, because most of the kids I know, they might not love worms, but they love jumping in puddles and hugging a few trees. You know, so and the children that I work with are often very passionate about saving the planet, because they hear so much in the media. And sometimes that really causes them stress. You know, they hear about the chopping of the Amazon rainforest. They hear about the climate emergency. They hear about the oceans being treated like a dumping ground. And they often feel this sense of urgency and stress. And so hopefully, my hope with this story is that I can show children that through the best way they can care for nature and protect the planet is to care for the nature that's right outside their door. Whether that's in your backyard, whether you live in an apartment block and it's on your balcony, whether it's indoors, whether it's in your neighbourhoods or your communities or your schools, kindergartens. So, you know, essentially the story goes on. I won't show you the whole thing, but essentially the story goes on, and Nature Ninja, Boo Book and Stick realise that they're actually not allowed out of the backyard on their own, because they're just tiny little kids or little creatures, and they live nowhere near the Amazon. So they start to wonder how they can make a difference for the planet. And you can see here, Boo Book's a bit of a mentor. Boo Book the owl. Nature Ninja's the kid ninja, and Stick is the very helpful, strong, silent type friend. Doesn't speak much, but is very helpful as well. And actually is becoming a little bit of a cult figure, because everyone I show Stick to is just in love with it. So, you know, it's really fun. So I think, you know, my mind is going, okay, what if I had little thought bubbles about what Stick's thinking? And, you know, Stick can be a very helpful mentor. So, and essentially the story goes on, you know, with the message that small steps in the right direction will lead to big changes. So, you know, whether you're planting seeds or creating habitat for your pollinators or whatever you're doing in your own backyard, or wherever you live, you know, you can make a difference from that. And we see that I've opened it up for future books where Nature Ninja will go beyond the backyard and go out into the community and really see that others are caring for nature in their own patch as well. And being a business owner, an entrepreneur, and being a little bit strategic in this, I put some wind farm up the back. some solar panels there, lots of little sustainability elements. But we have a local wind farm that sometimes gives us money for education, and I thought I'd put the local wind farm in there and maybe approach them and say, yeah, so if you'd like to help us create this would be great. So they haven't done that yet, but they know how passionate I am when I talk to them about it. So so yeah, it's on its way to becoming a real book. I'm going to go to print next month, which is very exciting. The Kickstarter has funded, and now I'm working towards stretch goals too. So as you can see here, and I think Kyoko, I sent you a PDF with some links and stuff. Please feel free to share that as well. We can put that link in the comments too. So the book is for teachers, homeschoolers, parents, grandparents, libraries, toy libraries, you know, all sorts of different places and applications. There's lots of different implementation kind of guides and, you know, things that kind of go along to complement the book, but also to help kids get, you know, really excited about being out in nature and being little nature ninjas as well. And I'm also creating accessible versions of those books. So a video book with audio descriptions for children with vision impairment, an audio book, and a video book with American Sign Language and Australian Sign Language for children with vision impairments as well. And I really think in you know, when we're working with kids, to be inclusive from the start, like to build this in and not have it just as an add-on or a nice to have, or maybe I should have that, but to build it in right from the start as being just what we do. You know, if you can do that and you have that opportunity to do that, you know, I really, I think there's such richness in that inclusion and diversity as well. So this is, you know, I want to give kids the feeling that they can make a difference. So the teacher guides and things like that create lots of little things based on the book. And as you can see, this is some of our adult little plushy, I call it a plushy picnic rather than a plushy protest, because I don't want kids to be too worried and concerned, but so we have a picnic rather than a protest. But you know, these are sort of adult, the ones down the bottom of the teachers ones, but you know, the kids created these ones, and they're like, plant more trees and other plants, and you know, nature spelled NATCHUR, and nature is beautiful, like, and all these beautiful messages for nature in the children's own world is really powerful. So I have a downloadable that you can access as well that tells you sort of how to do all that, and just, you know, I appreciate if you which is here actually. So if you just went to nature.com.au/picnic and just pop your email in there, then you'll get this download, but you'll also get onto my mailing list as well. So if you want to follow some of the things that I do, please feel free to do that as well. As I said in the Kickstarter, we're now into stretch goals. So all the teachers tell me they want little finger puppets. I do have, as you saw before, like the plushies, but they want all little finger puppet patterns and things like that. Another stretch goal, which I'm hoping we get to, which is probably going to happen anyway, but ultimately is a Nature Ninja song, which I will create with our local special development school. So I have a local muso who works a lot with the special needs kids in our local school, and it's just going to be, they're going to rock that song because they are awesome. You know, those kids are so awesome and they're so passionate. So hopefully we can get to 12. We're at about 8,700. So we got a little way to go in 10 days, but hopefully if people really want to support it by backing it, by sharing it, if you know a great sponsor who's not necessarily a wind farm, who wants to reach out and maybe, you know, help fund some of this, that would be great. But yeah, the best thing that I can ask all of you to do is to take that link, that link down the bottom, nature.com.au/nature ninja. That'll go straight to the Kickstarter. The best thing I can ask for you to do is if you can copy that link and share it. because that's how I'm going to create more ripples again with this book. So I'm just checking my time. But I want to say to all of you, just in sort of wrapping up, I think you've the power of passion and the power of really building community is going to help support you in your business, in your, in your personal life, in just having those sort of two cornerstones will help you, will help you really be successful. And that entrepreneurial spirit, which I just loved hearing about in those videos, which is so heartening to see. So keep climbing. As Nature Ninja, you've got this. And I just want to finish off with sharing a video resource with you, which is from my online conference. And it's about nurturing your own nature connection. And as I said before, sometimes I think Applehead's here. Yep. Sometimes when we feel like this, tapping into our own need for connecting with nature, because ultimately we are nature. We're not just part of it. We are nature. Is really going to be, it's really going to help you get clarity, and really feel like you can take on the world, which you already, I know you already all do. So there's a link there, Kyoko, I know you've got that as well, for free access to that that video chat that I had with Nina Ockenden-Powell. She's an incredible researcher and health advocate in the UK. So enjoy that, and I hope it helps you. I don't feel like that anymore. And then certainly here are all my contact details. So if you do have any questions after this, you do want to reach out to me, want to bounce ideas around or whatever, I'm always really happy to help grow community and grow those connections and relationships. So I think that's about it, really. So thank you all.
Thank you so much. That was phenomenal. I was just going to say, do you have plushies of the Nature Ninja? But it seems like you do.
Yes, I have Nature Ninja and stick. See,
and I'm just looking at the pictures and the fact that the grasshopper is there in every page too, which is always, oh my gosh, so cute. And it's such a great message for everybody. And I, as a child development professor here, I think it's so important to know that, I love what you said about inclusivity, starting from within, not just something that you add on, which I think is so important and such a deep place in my heart as well. So such really good, great takeaways for me personally, but I know we have a couple of questions. We have about 10 more minutes. If you have questions, please put them in the chat, but I will read them to you, Tanya. So the first question is, where did you study at university?
So I studied something that wasn't anywhere near education. I studied at Ballarat University, which is then eventually part of the University of Melbourne, and I studied human movement. It was a Bachelor of Applied Science in I studied sports marketing, so I got a little bit of business kind of, there. I was really passionate about physiology and anatomy, and I loved that side, and working with athletes and health, and that's sort of what led me into really my I studied remedial massage. So I was a massage therapist for a long time, which led me then into my corporate health, and then and it's really funny actually, because I look back now, like I started that 20 years ago. So that business probably over 20 years ago now, and did that for about 16 years, or no, I don't know how many years I did, a long time, probably longer than 25 years because I'm 50. So it was a long time ago. But to see now that workplaces now here, and I don't know if it's the same in the States, are becoming really aware of the benefits of nature for their employees. And so that kind of full circle almost, I see those opportunities as an entrepreneur and go, I should go back there, but I'm not passionate about it, so I won't. But
and I love what you said about passion too, because I think it's so important to have that passion and let that drive you along the way. Another one, what would you recommend for someone who's starting out writing a children's book? What is your advice for them?
Oh gosh, I did quite a lot of, for this first one in particular, I did quite a lot of courses. So I did a writing course with, I think, Journey to Kidlit, which basically kind of gave me a framework. And then I joined April Cox's Self-Publishing Made Simple course and things like that. And so that kind of really helped me just sort of, writing, getting the story right. I had a great editor, which I was really resistant to because I'm a bit of a control freak. But giving my work over to an editor just made it so much better. So that was awesome. And yeah, just write about something you're passionate about. There's so much great inspiration for story. And if someone's written something similar, you're going to write it differently. You're going to put your own spin on it. So it's been a wonderful journey. I've loved every second of writing this book, and and now I have all these little, I have a sequel, and I even might have a prequel. I'm not really sure yet. So, but yeah, it's a really, just thinking about lots of reading and do a few writing courses as well. Really simple kidlit writing courses can really help you. There's lots of free resources as well out there. If you just Google, there's heaps of them. But yeah, if you want to get in touch with me and ask me that, I'm happy to help.
Yes, and I have your email in the chat as well. So
Yep.
take a look and,
Yep.
and reach out if need be. Is liability insurance necessary for nature events in your community?
Yeah, absolutely. So I have public liability, professional indemnity, all those sort of, I'm not quite sure if they're called something similar in the US, but certainly it is, it's very important to have those and have risk assessments and things like that are created around those events. So, if there's something you want to, if it's a particular nature program that you're interested in, then there's, I think in the States, particularly if you look at Children and Nature Network, they might have some ideas around that, and some of your local, like the local environmental organisations. So there's lots of NAAA in the US and lots of the different nature organisations that can help you with that as well. So thanks for that question, Angela. Definitely, but it's different in every country. So, but we definitely need insurance.
We have about 4 more minutes. I wish I could talk to you even longer. I feel like Tania, we can go on for hours for this, for sure. So just a little bit of housekeeping. We do have a survey for this workshop, so we would love for you to put input in here, and so that we can have Tania back, hopefully, for another round, and definitely have that along with other workshops as well to give us input that way. A couple more workshops are coming along the way, and so please take a look at that. And yeah, thank you so much. If you have any last minute questions, please write them in the chat. If not, I don't know what time is it in Australia right now, Tania?
It's lunchtime, so 12:30.
It is lunchtime.
Tomorrow, in the future. I'm in the future.
In the future, you're living in the future. So awesome. So thank you so much for everybody's time. And I thank you, Tania. And it was such a lovely, and all the information is in the chat. I put all the links in there. Make sure you do the survey so I can reach out to you if you want more information about Tania or her, for her startup for the book. And everything that she does and what she stands for. And I think we got a little bit of taste of that today. I'm so thankful. And thank you for coming along. I think for the rest of you, thank you so much. I hope you have a wonderful night. Samina, you are correct. I will put that in there. Yes, I will put that in there. I will do it right now. But in the meantime, thank you so much for your time, everyone. Make sure you have that link. Tania, again, phenomenal work, and just keep doing what you're doing because it's so good. And the ninjas in us will come out for sure. And yes, with stick, of course. And so yes, thank you so much for your time. Thank you everyone for coming in, and have a good night and have a good lunchtime, Tania.
Yeah. Thank you everyone. See you outside, I always say. Bye.
See you outside.